How is it that one of India's most accomplished, popular, competent, and respected judges never made it to the Supreme Court? I'm Barkha Dutt, you're with the Mojo story. On the program today, we'll be looking at the curious case of Justice Muralidhar, recently retired from the Orissa High Court. But now, in a scathing op ed, a joint op ed of three of India's top legal minds, the question is being asked of the Collegium. Why did the Collegium not move more proactively to bring Justice Muralidhar to the Supreme Court? Fali Nariman, one of India's top constitutional experts, Justice Madan Lokur, who's of course retired from the Supreme Court, and constitutional expert and senior advocate Sriram Panchu have written this op-ed in the Indian Express asking a list of pointed questions for the Collegium on the failure or the refusal to bring Justice Muralidhar to the Supreme Court. They also, in this op-ed in the Indian Express, go through some of the seminal verdicts of Justice Muralidhar, which perhaps explain why he has been transferred across high courts in the manner that he has. Let's introduce our very special guests on the program today. Two of the three authors of this Indian Express op-ed are with us. As I said, Justice Lokur is one of the co-writers of this op-ed, and Sriram Panchu is also with us. Later today, we'll, with some luck, also be talking to Fali Nariman. Now, I want to actually, just before I pose my first question, bring up some of the key questions that are raised, Justice Lokur, by the three of you in this op-ed. You make the point that this is a judge of unimpeachable integrity. I'm paraphrasing you, how he has delivered seminal verdicts, and he's not hesitated to act without fear or favor, whether it's the Congress convicting Sajjan Kumar or whether it's the BJP coming down heavily on hate speech during the Delhi riots. So you fault the Collegium for not bringing such an accomplished judge to the Supreme Court. What bothers you the most about how the Justice Muralidhar case has been handled by the Collegium? Justice Lokur.
Well, thank you, Barkha. What bothers me is that you have a judge who is accomplished, as you said. There's no doubt about that. A judge of impeccable integrity, and also one of the senior most judges in the country. I think he's, in terms of seniority, he's number two. So, what is it? What is it that is lacking in him that the Supreme Court could not even recommend his name? That the Supreme Court Collegium could not even recommend his name for appointment to the Supreme Court? What is the criteria? It's all right to say that, listen, we have recommended the name of A, B, C, D for A, B, C, D reasons. But why have you not recommended Justice Muralidhar? I mean, does he lack all those qualities which you find in others? What is it? It's really mysterious the way the whole issue has been handled. And, I'm not talking only about today. Sorry. I'm not talking only about today. I mean, he could have been brought to the Supreme Court much earlier. So what is it that was lacking?
Yeah. And clearly you don't think, Justice Lokur, that anything was lacking. The op-ed written by the three of you, Mr. Nariman included, makes the point that this is like not putting the diamond, the metaphorical diamond, in the sort of jurisprudence crown. So clearly you can't see any reason at all, in which case I must ask you, what do you think was the Collegium's reason?
Well, I don't know. All I can think is that perhaps it has something to do with politics, and I hope I'm not right. But there is absolutely no reason why he could not have been brought to the Supreme Court.
If you say that perhaps it has something to do with politics, are you suggesting that the Collegium is tentative? I use my words carefully. You are suggesting that the Collegium might be tentative about offending powerful politicians?
Not defending powerful politicians.
Offending. Tentative about offending powerful politicians.
Yeah, perhaps. Yeah.
That's a very serious thing. I know, but that's a very serious thing to say, because it actually then questions the credibility of the Collegium.
Well, I really can't say. It's let the Collegium answer. We've asked the Collegium for these questions, so I think it's better if they answer.
Well, let me see if I can get Sriram Panchu to speak maybe a little more bluntly than you're speaking. You're saying perhaps this is politics because what else could it be? Mr. Panchu, are you of the same mind that this is politics? And in that case, you see, it's a very I mean, it's I don't know if the word is dangerous. It's a scary argument because the scary aspect to it is that we're saying that our collegium, the panel that sets up and appoints the judges of this country, are mindful of political power. That is basically the subtext of this joint op-ed by the three of you.
So I think Justice Lokur has been, blunt enough. I think the ball is in the collegium's court. We have pitched the ball squarely in the collegium's court. And we have said, here is this man of impeccable integrity. Here is this man of tremendous achievement, both as a judge and as a Chief Justice. If you want to, pick a hole in our argument about his merits, let's hear you. Let's hear you, because we have come out with facts, with figures, with statistics. It's not a rhetorical piece. It's a piece full of, facts and figures. So we really want to hear what the collegium has to say. And we think the collegium owes a duty to the legal community and, to Indians in general. When this case is picked on like this by, three, I'm not as senior as Justice Lokur and certainly not as senior as Mr. Nariman, but when the two of them, come in on this, there is a case to be answered. That, I think, is the point we make. And the point, Barkha, is this. If you do not answer, or you do not answer well, then you are providing ground for speculation. Because speculation then is going to be inevitable. People are then going to say, well, if it's not seniority, if it's not merit, if there was nothing else, then what else could it be but politics? But let me tell you one more thing. This is not just about Muralidhar. This is about every good judge in the country who is going to wonder, if I follow the path of good and right, am I going to end up like this? This is for every good lawyer who's going to be asked to become a judge. And he's going to think, if that's what happened to Muralidhar, should I take it? Please understand, this is not just about Muralidhar. It's far, far beyond.
You're saying it's a message to every honest, brave judge in this country right now?
Yes, of course it is. They are looking at this, and they are looking at this in relation to themselves. Why would they not?
Now, Sriram, I must ask you, when you say it's a message for everybody in the legal community and the ball is in the collegium's court, the collegium doesn't have to answer. And here's the irony. It is the government that has been in battle with the collegium system. It is the government that has been arguing that the collegium system is non-transparent. You can't give a few men so much power to appoint other men and women. And so it's a kind of ironical argument that the collegium that has been fighting at this point for its autonomy and its credibility, with this might actually be strengthening the hand of the political class that has raised questions about it.
Well, I don't see the political class raising too many questions about the collegium these days. And that tells you its own story. But let's come back to the point. It is a point, to be open and transparent is a positive thing in a democracy. The Supreme Court says that about every other institution.
Yeah.
All we are saying is, please, can we have some in this case? Just tell us why.
In what form, Justice Lokur, do you hope the collegium might respond? The collegium could simply respond with stony silence, right? Some of these are your colleagues, you've served with them. Let me put it to you differently. Let's say you were in the collegium today, and this kind of joint op-ed was written by three top legal minds of India. What would you be thinking of doing?
I don't know what I would do, but I can tell you, I don't expect a response from the collegium. Right?
You don't.
I don't. The reason is that what explanation are they going to give? I mean, it's like an open and shut kind of case. What reason is there? So if you can't justify something, it's best to keep quiet, So I think that's what's probably going to happen. And
But
I just want to come back to what you said earlier about transparency, and I think the government is perhaps more opaque than the collegium. We've had instances of recommendations made to the high courts, which have been pending with the government for months together, years together, and we don't know, what's happening. Why are they pending for so long? We've had an instance of a person, the former Chief Justice of the Bombay High Court, was recommended to the Supreme Court. 8 months the government sat over the file. Why? So I think both need to answer these kind of questions.
I agree. There's the Bombay High Court case. There's Saurabh Kirpal's case. The fact is that the collegium could be assertive, and the government legally would not be able to do anything about it. But Sriram, when Justice Lokur says he does not expect a reply from the collegium, when the three of you came together to write this op-ed, there must have been, other than your solidarity that you want to show for Justice Muralidhar, the respect you want to show for him, there must be some thinking. What are you hoping to do by setting this cat among the pigeons? Because it does set a cat among the pigeons when the three of you write something like this in public, as opposed to just whispering it in the drawing rooms of private conversations.
It's not just the three of us. It's also, this is a causa celebre. The facts of this case make it a very unique case. So I think what we hope to do, and we have done, I think, is to, to show our concern about the working of a very, very important institution. I mean, the collegium came into force because the judges felt there's too much of politics. There's too much of governmental interference. We need to take charge on the appointment of judges. That's the rationale for the collegium. And when we see that, look, that's not happening. Here's a man of great merit. So obviously there's something wrong with the system. And it is out of concern for the system, out of concern for the institution, far more than our, a respect and regard for Muralidhar, that has made us do this.
I understand that, and that's why I think, though your op-ed does it, I'm just going to reiterate some of the seminal orders and interventions by Justice Muralidhar, whether it was a midnight hearing during the Delhi riots to make sure that ambulances reached riot victims, whether it was pulling up the Delhi police for failing to act against hate speech, provocative speeches made by BJP leaders, whether it was convicting a Congress leader, Sajjan Kumar, in 1984, whether it was decriminalizing homosexuality, co-writing that verdict with Justice Shah at the Delhi High Court, whether it was the Hashimpura case. These are, I think they speak for themselves, that Justice Muralidhar is not partisan. He's not ideologically, politically partisan, and that is evident in his orders. Also, Sriram, there is the enormous, unprecedented popularity. If you look at the farewell images of Delhi High Court and Odisha High Court, it tells you something, doesn't it? What does it tell us when we look at these images? We're going to bring them up on our screen. Yeah, there. Go ahead, Sriram.
It tells you that this is a man who connected with his people, with his judges, with his lawyers, with the court staff. I mean, I've never seen a turnout like this as a farewell for any judge ever, that you have hundreds of lawyers and judges and court staff lining the road and the passage all the way through. I've never seen it. Justice Lokur, I bet you haven't also seen anything like this.
Yeah.
This is spontaneous. This is spontaneous. And he got the same kind of send-off from the Delhi High Court. That entire room, the first tier, the second tier on top was absolutely full. So it is regard and, love for him and respect for him. And I think thanks for him.
Yeah, Justice Lokur, let me give you the last word. I think the three of you have begun a debate. This is not the last word. You don't expect the collegium to respond, but you're hoping that maybe this urges others to speak up, create some sort of public debate around what's happening. Giving you the last word, I want you to explain, as Sriram has also pointed, this is not about one judge who, as you say, is 62, had a lot to offer, a lot in his stride, was by no means in the twilight of his career. What is at stake here in terms of constitutional principles? I think that's what we must focus on in the last comment from you.
Well, there are two or three things. I just want to go back a minute. It's not only the favor that he got from the Delhi High Court or from the Orissa High Court, but the welcome that he got when he was transferred from Delhi to Punjab and Haryana High Court. I mean, the streets were lined up. Yeah. I believe there were hoardings, right? So, that tells a story by itself. But yes, what Sriram says is correct. It's a cause célèbre. All right. Why is this happening? When we talk so much about the independence of the judiciary, why is it that the judiciary is not in a position to pick up the best? All right. What was wrong with Justice Muralidhar? Why has he been overlooked? And now, if you do this, it's bound to have, like Sriram has said, it's bound to have an effect on others. They will say that, listen, if we decide to become a High Court judge, if our name is recommended, what's going to happen to us? Look what's happened to Saurabh Kripal, all right? And after 10, 15 years, look what's happened to Justice Muralidhar. Why should we get into this business? So, yeah, it has a very long-term effect, and really the idea is to bring it out in the open and tell whoever is concerned with it, particularly the collegium, that listen, you need to discuss this, right? You need to be open, you need to be frank, and you need to be fearless.
Open, frank, and fearless is what is expected of the highest bench of the land, and also, of course, the collegium that decides on the judges. And I think it's disheartening for people to hear that three of India's top legal minds think that it's politics that stood between Justice Muralidhar and the Supreme Court. But then, as Justice Lokur, Fali Nariman and Sriram Panchu ask, if it isn't politics, dear collegium, tell us what it is. Thank you very much, Sriram, Justice Lokur. We hope to be talking to Fali Nariman, I beg your pardon, later this evening. And we hope very much that this op-ed starts a wider public debate. This is, of course, the image, Justice Lokur. This is Justice Muralidhar being welcomed at the Chandigarh railway station as he arrived to take over. This was considered a transfer out of Delhi, but this is what people felt about receiving him. So I'm glad you reminded us of that, and we just wanted to end with that image. It's very rare to see this kind of inspiration at a personal level that a judge evokes. Thank you very much to both of you, gentlemen, and thank you for raising this critical issue. And thank you to our audience. See you soon. It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Mojo Story and support independent, robust journalism.